psoriatic disease and transverse myelitis warrior, and she lives with severe psoriatic disease since the age of 9. And she is the founder of Psoriasis Indonesia and an IFPA ambassador. So, welcome to our panelists. I would like to start with those who feel the burden the most. So, Sophia and Chiara. Sophia, have you experienced that psoriatic disease has negatively affected you and impacted your mental health?
That's definitely which is totally interrelated. The moment you have been diagnosed with multiple conditions, it straight away hit your mental health. That's for sure. Alright, yeah. So yeah, it's actually a part of a burden for myself, because when we talk about mental health, oftentimes it's being neglected because we're only looking at the surface of the skin and we know how to, give that temporary relief. But on the other side, you have a long-term impact, which is called a mental health side. In my case, definitely it has impacted a lot because I didn't really look into that area because for me, I just wanted to look good and healthy. But I didn't know at the background the mental wellness was being neglected, knowingly, unknowingly, and I realized sooner or later something is happening within me.
And Chiara, I would like to ask you the same question. And also with the background in mind that you have developed the disease at a very young age, 9 years old. So how the disease, you being a young person, how has the disease impacted negatively your mental health?
Okay. I think as a young person, I was just 9 years old. I couldn't process what was happening properly. It was very hard for me in the sense that what I felt was I just isolate myself, right? I just felt shame. I just felt very ugly and undeserving because I realized then that I looked different from the people around my age, especially going through the teenage years when all we care about is how we look. We want to attend parties, we want to socialize, but I look different and I live in so much pain. So it was very debilitating, it was very limiting, and that create in psychological levels a lot of irrational fears, a lot of limiting beliefs that I don't think I'm capable of doing things. I don't think I deserve to live a life. Then it all became to the point that I didn't even dare to dream. I don't even have any desire of what I want to be when I grew up and all those kinds of things. So as a kid, it was something that was very intense, but because I was a kid, I couldn't process all of that happening. It was too much. I wasn't armed with the knowledge and the skill to process all of these emotions and how do I cope with it properly. And my dad is crying, I think, at the back of the room. So yeah, it was definitely it filled with a lot of darkness. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And Dr. Azura, we have just heard words like pain, inability to dream, fear. And you, as a medical professional, you meet many people living with psoriatic disease. And how do these factors impact the people, the patients you treat, and how do they impact the management of their condition?
Yeah, definitely those are very valid questions, and as you said, we've heard the story from Sophia and also Chiara. They are very brave to share their story with everyone today because not many can do that. Okay, it takes a really courageous person to be up on the stage, to be sharing what you have done. So I think a round of applause to both of you for sharing your amazing journey. I mean, if we look at you today, we probably wouldn't know that we have suffered all those, right? Okay, but if we talk about stigma and shaming and all that, I think we've heard from them themselves that yes, shame, it's one of the emotions that you feel when you're first diagnosed, especially when the disease is not controlled. Because the thing is, with skin disease, it's visible. Okay? Everybody will know that you have a skin disease, unlike things that you can hide. I mean, it's not to say cancer and all that. Of course, it's something very devastating, okay, but it's something that nobody knows that you're suffering. Okay? But if you have a skin disease, it's on the face, people can think it may be contagious, okay? They may not want to. I'm sure both of you have experienced that, okay? And especially being a female, okay, where everybody thinks that beauty is just on the outside, okay? So it can be quite difficult for young female patient to take all into consideration. Okay, so they're not just discriminated by their friends, okay, their colleagues, okay, who may not understand what's going on. Okay, for example, we're not just talking about the skin disease. Let's say if you have a joint pain, you can't come to work. Okay, that can actually cause you can have a bit of a problem with your employer. They may not understand that. Why would you have a joint pain when you have a skin disease? Okay, so all that we need to address. Okay, and stigma, yes. Okay, there's a lot of stigma associated with psoriasis. Okay, they think it's a contagious, infectious disease. Okay, so I'm sure most of you all have been asked whether it's contagious or not. Okay, so yep, I think those are the issues that they may face, and I think it's very brave of them to be sharing their story today. Okay, and we hope more and more patients open up, because we want to make it so that public is aware that it's not just a skin disease, it's associated with other comorbidities as well.
Yeah, and this is also the scope of this forum: raise awareness, collecting the needs of the people living with the disease, but also find solutions. So I would like to ask you, Dr. Azura, a follow-up question. How do we make things better? How do we ensure that the people living with psoriatic disease receive the support that they need?
Yeah, first of all, we need an effective treatment. Okay? Because without effective treatment, I don't think both of you can be here today to share your story. Okay? First and foremost, okay, we need to have an effective treatment that helps in treating not just the skin, okay, but other comorbidities as well. Okay, so that's the first thing. Okay. Second thing, of course, we have to make it public. I think this kind of forum is very useful, okay, for the public to know what psoriasis is all about, okay, how it can affect a patient's mental health being, and we should address those issues, okay, not just hide it, okay, they say, oh, it's just a skin disease, okay, because people will think that, oh, it's just a skin disease. Not many know that it can actually cause an enormous impact on the patient's mental health. Okay, so we need to make it aware to the public that it can affect the patient's mental health. Okay, so there's a lot can be done, okay, both on our part as a medical professional, and also by having all these patient support group to disseminate all the information. Okay, and in fact, we're actually having a conference a whole week this week in Singapore. A lot of mental health issues surrounding psoriasis will be addressed during the conference as well.
Sophia, staying on the positives, is there anything during your journey that had a positive impact that helped you cope?
Yes, definitely. I think one of the most important reasons why I'm here still today is because of my family. I have two of my sisters there, Pony and Rina at the back, came all the way just to support me in the forum. I believe that without the family support, I don't think we can actually sustain this much. I'm sure Chiara will definitely agree with me. But what happened to those who don't have the family who are supporting them? So this is where you have to go to the patient support group, like all of you are here. And you guys are doing a fantastic job because you're out there and just wanted to help the patients as much as you can, right? So, and then secondly, and what Chiara said, I'm just echoing whatever she said, because both of us actually went through the same sentiment, right? I was diagnosed at a very young age, and then I'm having this psoriatic arthritis at the age of 12, and then followed by fibromyalgia syndrome. And that is only what is recorded in the history. But I don't know what other diseases under the sun that I'm having right now, because I don't want to bother with all these diseases, right? So just wanted to stay focused very positively and see what can I do more. Because I know the last 20 years, I was there staying, just, leading my life just like anyone else, trying to make best out of me. When it comes to, for example, I'm a very, very ambitious person. I want to be somewhere in the senior management, but it took me a long time to get there. And definitely I worked really hard and cried day and night just to finish one simple task that it only take 5 minutes, but I think I'm taking 5 hours to finish this, the whole task, because the ability to think, focus, your productivity badly impacted at work. So what happened to my ambition? But I still don't let it go because I know I need to achieve my dreams one day. Then what happened? The purpose of my life. So I wanted to make a difference by showing an example what I have done before and what I'm doing now and what I'm still doing after this, and it will definitely give some sort of impact for every one of us, on a daily basis. Yeah, so speaking about the employment, when we talk about country's economy, it is also deriving based on our productivity daily, right? If let's say we're not productive enough, what happened to the country's economy? So when we talk about like 16 million patients, with psoriatic disease, and assuming 50% is not productive enough, what happened, right? So these are the things that we wanted to, see what we can contribute to the society. And not only that, I was like, the last 7 years, I've actually joined Psoriasis Association of Malaysia. When my first article came out on the local newspaper, a lot of media came approach me. Why I did that? Because I was like suffering for the last 30 years, and I was bedridden almost 1 year, just like a vegetable, and I have mom to bathe me, I have sisters to feed me, I was on a wheelchair. What am I doing? I didn't know what I was going through, but only thinking of suicidal. And I have attempted suicide so many times. And I'm just confessing to you guys today that you're not alone. We all are going through the same journey, and you just have to have the courage to step up for yourself, because this is your life, nobody else. So setting that on note, right, I have been approached by a lot of media today. Me and Dr. Azura can proudly say that we have covered all the media mass in Malaysia. You just have to Google our name, we will appear there. But it's definitely not because we want to be in the limelight or you want to be popular or celebrity. It's nothing like that. What am I to be a celebrity here? No. I'm not as beautiful as Miss Universe, for example. I don't have the criteria to fit into the beauty pageant. But why am I going into Miss Amazing Malaysia? Because they created a platform for me. And not only for me, people like me who think and talk about skills that we possess, not about the outer beauty. Correct? So I took the courage, and then go into this beauty pageant, put myself out there to tell people it is okay to have this kind of condition. Because we are not lesser than anyone else. I have the skills, I know how to communicate, I can stand up for everyone else. So I want to be the voice. This is very cliche, we talk about I want to be your voice, I want to do this. It's very normal, but putting into action is another toughest part in my life, right? So Miss Amazing came, and I just won the title. But that wasn't intended, For me, I just looking for a platform, how can I make psoriasis popular in Malaysia? And happy to say that that has been flashed on our national TV channels, called for interviews and things like that. And psoriasis now is slightly famous, compared to others, right? And yeah, so Miss Amazing came in place, and then my journey with Psoriasis Malaysia is continuously going on right now, and I'm not going to stop there, all right? Because if my voice can be heard, there's so many things I need to do, and also on behalf of the community, I want to be in Parliament one day and pitch, what the patients or what I'm going through, and how many of them are lucky enough to get biologics. Today, I'm getting the biologics after how many years of was thinking, is it good or bad for my health? What's going to happen if I don't have the access? What will happen if I don't have the money to purchase it? Right? I'm going to go back to square one. I'm going to sit and then in the total darkness again. I wouldn't want to do that, because I know the taste of biologics is giving me 100% happiness right now. Yes, I'm still happy before this, but I'm happier now because I can do a lot of other things right now. So throwing back to the society is something that I'm looking at, and I'm really privileged and honored to be here, all of in front of all of y'all. Yeah. So I think I'm taking so much of time.
Thank you, Sophia, for sharing all that. I mean, I've known Sophia for quite some time. Since before I became a dermatologist, she has been our patient, so she has been with us for quite some time, and we can see how courageous she is. And thank you for sharing, because as you said, in the past in Malaysia, not many people know what psoriasis is all about. So we are actually trying to create awareness, and I'm happy to inform that actually for the World Conference of Dermatology that we're having this week, we are going to present about what we have done in Malaysia in order to raise awareness on psoriasis. So I'll be speaking on social media and what we have done on the social media to create awareness on psoriasis in Malaysia.
And this is very important. Sophia, you raised also 3 very important points: the importance of family support.
Yes.
the
If I can
importance
add
of-
on also, it's a blessing in disguise, I would say. You know, you take the situation negatively, you switching it to the positive, cause. So it's very important how are you changing the situation. It's all in you, actually. You have to decide what you're going to do with the situation. Don't fret and brood about, oh my God, I have psoriasis, what am I going to do? Get up and move on, That's how you have to do it, deal with it.
And I'm sure that Chiara can also relate to what Sophia is saying. What helped you cope? You have an interesting follow-up story. To
Yes,
this.
definitely. I do agree in terms of family support. I think that is like the biggest thing. In fact, they're all here, like my whole family is here to support me. The most important aspect for me in terms of family is the fact that they believe in me first, even though when I don't believe in myself, and that planted seeds of me to be able to believe in myself that I'm capable. And other than that, outside of like family, but also society, it's something that I believe is something that you have to proactively create. The way to have a supportive society is not just waiting for you to be able to have that, but you have to create that. You have to proactively work on that to build the kind of people that you want surrounding you, the kind of people that accepts you, that supports you, that create a safe space. That is something that you need to do on your own instead of like also waiting for other people to make that happen. So I think that connects to empowering patients. At the end of the day, when I was saying that I didn't dare to dream, I didn't know what my life is for, it all changes in the simple realizations that turns out how I want to live my life with psoriasis is actually my choice. Do I want to see this as a curse or something that is bringing me down in my life? Or do I want to see it as something that actually has meaning and has purpose in my life? And so from that simple realizations, it moved me to slowly progress, to proactively change the way I see things, the way I do things. I started realizing how privileged I am in living with psoriasis. Yes, I am unlucky that I have psoriasis, but I am very privileged in the sense that I have access to healthcare. I have family that supports me. I am well educated that I can learn and understand about psoriasis, and I realize that a lot of people in Indonesia does not have that. So the questions pop in my mind like, okay, I'm suffering, but there are other people who are suffering also out there, and they have it worse than me. So how do I extend the privilege that I have to these other people in Indonesia to also have this kind of privilege? And that gave me a sense of purpose and put what Sophia said, is like change your perspective. The way I see psoriasis is something that gives me a purpose, a meaning to life, and that's why I started Psoriasis Indonesia. It's just it just started as a simple platform in social media to proffer information and educations, and it became something more because it was something that people really needs, empowering patients. And I am able to empower patients because I am able to, lucky enough to process within me, to have self-awareness, to know what I'm actually going through, to learn to label those emotions that I couldn't at first, to process all those emotions. I go through meditation camp, I go through countless counseling sessions, I learn how to journal, I do all of this process that helps me gain self-awareness. From there, I'm able to have self-compassion. So I can learn to be kinder to myself, because I'm pretty sure all of us here with psoriasis, we had a lot of anger towards ourselves. We have a lot of anger towards the world of like, why me? Why do I have to be the one to have this? A lot of sadness, a lot of disappointment every time we flare up, like, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. Now it's my fault that I'm flaring up. So those kind of emotions is learning how to process that, how to see that in a better light, to have self-compassion. From then on, to have self-acceptance from the good side and the bad side. It's all part of us, and understanding that I am more than psoriasis. Turns out there's other parts of Chiara that I can be proud of too. It's like I'm not just my disease, but I'm a capable human being. I can have a career, I can do a lot of things in this world, I can contribute, and that builds self-confidence. That self-confidence that makes me feel empowered. That feeling of empowerment allows me to be able to empower other patients. And this is something that is also very important, to have more patients, to be able to empower other patients too, because that is where we start. All of you here are working on changing the policy, but it takes years, it takes times. But empowering patients can start now for us to be able to take charge back of our lives so we can live better with psoriasis. So I think the bottom line is we have to start doing it now to be able to live better, to learn how to manage our mental health, to process the emotions, to process the way we see things, and that is how we are able to live better with psoriasis.
And I can definitely agree that empowerment starts now, and I mean now, because what you share as people living with psoriatic disease, what you share with the medical professional experience is really an example, and that we can take with us and bring home and share with our community. So we thank you very much. And
If I can add,
yes.
sorry, one more thing, relating to our first session topic about universal health coverage, I think Sophia also relates and mentioned a little bit is the fact that I mentioned briefly that one of the privilege that I have is access to healthcare. I cannot have a good career, I cannot build Psoriasis Indonesia and everything else if I'm still drowning in pain and darkness, because it's so much harder, because you're really reminded with your pain. I'm a very positive person. Everyone who meets me will say that I'm a very positive person. But even with psoriasis, your positivity cannot sustain you, because it really drags you down with all the pain, the discomfort that you feel with every single thing. So in order for people to start making the change, to empower, to have a proper career, it's also through having access to healthcare. So, yeah.
Everything comes
Everything comes down to having that access to healthcare. So that is, I think, one of the biggest solutions that we have to come true.
Yeah, we agree, and that is why the symbol of universal health coverage is an umbrella, right? It
Yes.
covers everything.
Yes.
We would like to open the session to the public. It would be lovely if any of you has questions. I can see already a raised hand or wants to share. That's your time. I see a question there.
Give me a mic.
Yes.
Thank you very much. All I heard was music to me. I'm Dr. Thirumurthy, I'm a dermatologist. I've been with Psoriasis Association since 1982, but I've not been active for some time. I think the message that we tell people, and I used to say, don't tell the psoriasis patient you cannot be cured. But these two ladies have not just cured, they have healed themselves. All right? So the question of concept is that these two people have overcome psoriasis and used psoriasis to a greater impact for their lives and others. So let us think about this concept of healing. And this is what I've been talking about, but this idea in my head never came to life until these two ladies have spoken. So I have a job for two of them. And before I ask my question, and what I do is I used to teach doctors through patient's journey and patient's journal. And when doctors or medical students read about patient's journal, they really understand many things that, in the textbook, that's not true. So please write your story. Write it down in whatever language, but definitely in English, so that medical students, medical educators can use your story as teaching materials. Okay? So that's one promise I've got from you. But really my question that I have for you, both of you, all right, and maybe Dr. Azura can also share, what is that turning point when you, from being a victim, became a victor, from being bitter to better? I understand the background of family being there, all right? But what was that turning point? Was it something I would like to know from both of you, Sophia and Sarah? Was that made that trigger factor? There could be several predisposing factors that led to you, but what was that trigger factor? That's my question. Thank you.
Good question.
Okay, I'll take this one first. The turning point was when I was just about to graduate from university. It was when I had enough of the fact that I keep allowing psoriasis to limit me. Actually, before that, there was another turning point when I was about to move to Malaysia. I wanted so bad to be on remission because I'll be meeting new people, I'll be living in a new country on my own and everything else. But I was too stressed about it. So stress became flare up, and I always have severe psoriasis. So when I flare up my whole body. And I went there with my family. They were there with me for 1 week. But at that time, it was very, very painful. And the big family at home actually asked me to just come back home. Why are you moving so far away from family when you are sick like that? Why don't you just move back to Jakarta so where your family can take care of you? And my family said, it's your choice. You want to go big or you want to go home? And at that point in time was the first time I had something that I want for myself. Because all my other friends are able to live their life going for universities abroad. Why can't I? Why do I always have to stop psoriasis from allowing me living my life? Why do I always have to limit my life because of psoriasis? So that was the triggering point of when the first time I took a step forward and choose something from myself and stop psoriasis from defining my life. And that was a journey, a process afterwards to keep having those kind of turning points, moment of like, I have enough, I want to live my life, I'm still young, there's still a lot of things that I should be doing, but I'm not. So what can I do to change this, right? So it was a lot of process, and definitely what I need to emphasize on is that it's a process, it's a lifelong journey. I am healing. I don't think I'm healed. I am healing. I feel like that is a process that I will keep going through in my life. Every time I'll flare up, I know I can cope with it better and better, but it will be something that is still hard in my life. And that's okay. That's life, right? There's always the good and bad. There's always the struggles and the victories. So yeah, I think the most important point is that it's a process, and it's a lifelong journey, and that is okay as long as you just keep on going.
Keep on going.
Thank you, doctor, for the question. So, when you speak about turning point in my life, okay, this just happened 7 years ago when I wanted to stand up and speak for others, simply because 30 years ago, nobody has spoken about it. And I was totally within my family, and my family has been the greatest pillar for me. And I was just thinking through, what happened to those who don't have a family or privilege like me when it comes to family, right? So, who are they relying on? You know, so much unspoken grief that they have, and where do they actually share? They need a space, right? So, of course, coming from a Baha'i family, I'm very much involved in the community building services ever since I was a teenager. And I'm only looking at my neighborhood level or within my community back at home. But then I was thinking like, okay, we have a psoriasis community out there that I can actually lend a hand. Because that is also a healing process for me to, number one, I have accepted for what I have, what I'm going through. Acceptance is very important. Secondly, how do you reach out to more, the wider community, or be it starting from the grassroots level, So that process actually made my life much more easier because number one, I do socialize with people, but very, very selective people, because I am not very socialized person because I was in my shell for the last 30 years. I don't go for any outings, no outdoor activities. I even afraid to go and wash my hands at a restaurant. I want my sisters like, can you come with me? Simply because my self-esteem was so impacted, badly impacted. And that actually created the whole journey, especially when I mentioned in 2014 when I was bedridden. And I was thinking like, okay, what is again my sense of purpose in this world? Am I going to be like this forever? And that actually a trigger point, which means today I'm telling you that I have made a deal with God. I said to him that if you give me another opportunity, because I wouldn't want to be like this forever, and then the rest of my life going to be wasted. And one fine day, after 9 months of suffering on the bed, I finally see some changes coming on my skin, which means I think God heard my prayers. And am I going to heal again? And I can start to walk and run again? Isn't that a good news? So I took it very positively that I am already in the healing process. So the idea is all about self-acceptance. And how are you actually, switching yourself, like taking the situation from the negative into the positive. Of course, alongside you have all these, psychological effects, all those things. But how am I embracing it and move on and, just embark the journey just like that? I mean, it just happened well. It is a very, very natural, organic process, I would say, because God already had plans for me, ahead of me. It's just that I'm very short-sighted, like I couldn't see what is in front of me, or probably ahead of me, but I'm just like, I took a chance on that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Thiru, for the question. Yep, I agree. I think we've been drummed, and I think most of you all here also have been told by the doctors who are treating you, saying that there's no cure for psoriasis, right? Because I think that can be quite devastating for patients, because when you're not well, one thing that you look for is cure. Okay? But I mean, look at both of you today. Okay, your skin is great, and you're on effective treatment that can control. Okay, even though we can't cure, but there are effective treatments that we can give to treat psoriasis. I would just like to know, what was the turning point that made you decide to accept this effective treatment that you're on now? Okay, because we've heard that the family support is important. Yeah, that's one thing. With the chronic disease, it can either break the family or it can make the family closer. And most of the time, it actually makes the family closer. So apart from the family support, what was actually was it like a discussion with your dermatologist or discussion with the peers in the support group that made you decide to embrace the treatment that you're on?
Well, I must say that Dr. Azura and Dr. Zalmi has been, convincing me for the last couple of years to take biologics. The only fear is, like I mentioned just now, the cost is definitely expensive. Why we have like limited access in Malaysia? But again, I'm saying that that is like something I have earned over the years. You're not privileged. You're not entitled just like that, because you have to go through various type of treatment first before you reach biologics. And of course, consultation was going on between the doctor and myself, and then the family, and then my sister. One fine day she said that, why are you worrying about future? Whatever you have, just make use of the moment. You don't need to think what's going to happen the next couple of years. She's just looking at the present moment. I was looking at the long term. And also, of course, some of my friends who say that, okay, before the treatment, you're doing so much. After the treatment, I believe you can do even better. So that is the whole idea. I was like toying, should I do it? Should I not? Okay, never mind. I just want to put my foot down and just do it, heck it, whatever it is, let's face it. Because we have faced so much of, bumpy road journey. What is that going to be? Worst case scenario, going to come back in vengeance, but isn't that what we have gone through the last 30 years? What difference going to make now? Okay, yeah, that's the whole.
I think it was 2011 when we first learned about biologics. It was Remicade at that time, but I was still very young, so I wasn't eligible for it. But then, so I know in my mind that biologics is a treatment for psoriasis, but I also know that it is costly and it's like the last resort. So after 1 year living in Malaysia, the cyclosporin stopped working for me, and then my parents were exploring options for me to start taking biologics, but I know that it's very expensive. This is one of the other aspects of mental health and living with psoriasis also. I always feel very guilty on the fact that my parents have to pay for such expensive stuff for me because I'm sick. So, sorry. So when they decided to go on and try on biologics on me, I think for me it was more of a question that I was just 18 years old and I'm already on the last resort of this psoriasis medication. What's going to happen to me for the rest of my life, right? It's like, what happened if once biologics stops working, I don't have any other options. And at that time, to have it covered, helped by the insurance, actually, I had to stay overnight at the hospital. And actually, it was just like a simple injections. But being that sick at that moment, going to my last resort of medications and being in a hospital, it was very heavy in the sense that I actually lost myself, that I didn't know myself. I felt so bad. I felt like I was at the end of the road. But as it progresses, that was when I started to embrace having biologics, because for the first time in my life, I was able to live a normal life as a teenager. It was the first time I was able to wear shorts. I was able to tie my hair up. It was the first time I was able to It was the first time I was able to have normal nails. So it was a lot of the first. It was after so long I can start sweating on my hair, because all the time it has very thick scalp psoriasis that I can't even sweat from my hair. So from then on, I started embracing that this opportunity that has been given to me to be able to live a normal life, and then it allows me then to start being able to focus more than just myself, that this is bigger than me, that there's something that I truly can do.
If I may add on, we are the living proof right now, where I definitely echoing Chiara on this, like we can't even dress up properly as a woman. You have to dress for yourself, you have to look beautiful, gorgeous, things like that. But now we are feeling the happiness part, right? And we wouldn't want to just keep it for ourselves. While we are happy, of course, we wanted to see those who actually experience the same thing, to be happy as well, to be part of this journey. And we also want them to live the normal life, just like anyone else, right? So nobody should be isolated, and everybody must be included in this, treatment and access. So that's why we are here, singing the same song every day until my sister knows what I'm going to say. She knows all my dialogues. She said, Sophia, I know what you're going to say. It's the same thing, but how are we materializing it is the thing, call for action. So that's why we are so motivated today, that we have tasted it, and we are still tasting the happiness that we are going through, right? So yeah, but just my humble request that let's continue to fight this journey, and we want every one of y'all to just live like how are we living, right? I pray to God that this should be a continuous thing. I don't know, only people up there who can actually help us out, like people like lawmakers, politicians, bring a better life for all of us. I truly hope. I really hope so. Yeah.
So what you have shared has actually shared a lot of. It's not cheap. Okay, we do agree. Okay, it's a very expensive medication, and unfortunately in Malaysia and also I bet in Indonesia, so the treatment is not reimbursed. Yeah, not like in some countries like Australia, in the UK, where the biologics get reimbursed. Unfortunately for our patients in Malaysia, we have to try our best to get it. Okay, so by any means. Okay, but okay, we shall not share what means. Okay, but we have ways of getting it. But I know the guarantee, because like what you have shared. Okay, you say you don't know what's going to happen in the future when we cannot continue the treatment. Okay, but what I always tell my patient, let's say we are able to secure the treatment for 1 year. Okay, so 1 year of free of psoriasis is good enough, rather than having plaques on the skin, right? Okay, rather than nothing at all. Okay, so something is better than nothing. Okay, so okay, yeah, please.
If I add on to that, sorry. Oftentimes we talk about the skin surface, the appearance need to look good, but psoriatic arthritis is another burden that I am actually going through it on a daily basis. Yes, I'm biologics. I'm still in pain, I would say, but one of the difficulties that I'm going through is like, as simple as fixing the button or zip my clothes, or even driving. And I had so many near-miss accidents on the road because I couldn't turn my neck. Just like, because it's so limited. And I think, together with the skin part, on the joints part, the psoriatic arthritis is also need to be treated at the same time. Because these two, when you combine, your mental health will be destroyed completely. Yeah, because it's going to lead you to another, dark side of our world. Yeah.
And like I think what you said it beautifully earlier. We heard it before also in other sessions, like you just want to live a normal life. But yeah, it's not really true. You want to do more. you want to give back to the community. You want to give back to the people that are less privileged, that don't have the family support. And I'm pretty sure you all in the audience can relate. And I am confident to say that, yeah, you don't want to live a normal life. You want to do more, and you are.
Yes.
So, yeah, a huge applause to our panelists and to you. And we now keep the momentum of action, and I'm gonna give the mic to Craig again to introduce a workshop session on this on the session of mental health. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much. If you guys want to just stay standing, and while I introduce the next session, maybe somebody wants to take some pictures of the panelists. Cool. And then I know Ida also has some stuff. But quite simply, in the next session, you each have a big A2 piece of paper on your table, and really what I want your tables to work on is just putting